Source sets up your story. It lets you know what your strategy, what you're spending, knowing what's working, and knowing where to invest. If I know that certain sources of visitors and sources of leads are performing better all the way down to the end of the funnel, into the sales portion, and I can backtrack the sale to the source, now it changes behavior. It changes how I spend, it changes how I evaluate, it changes how I focus on that part of my marketing, because I can tie together the entire funnel now. And I know what's working, I know why it's working, and it changes how I approach. We can get into doing some comparison. So this is the source and medium report under acquisition. And this breaks down. So you can see there's a lot going on here. Google organic, Google paid, direct, social media ad, Bing organic, Facebook ad. This company's doing a ton of stuff here. One thing they found when they started looking through, this is where they took their average order value, their revenue, and their per session value. Per session value. I love this report because what this tells me is every visitor from Google was worth $177. This is in pounds, but just think of it in dollars. Anyone that came from email was worth $2.50. This is value per session. This is direct response of what people are doing based on this. Anyone that was reading their blog had an average value per session of $2.36. So immediately what this is informing them is you're doing well in all these mediums and sources. However, if I increase the amount of people coming from email or visiting the blog, that is a high value per session. So my 3 C's of analytics: context, that's segmentation, sets the stage of who is this visitor, and we start telling a story about them. Where did they come from? What were they looking for? What did they see? And based on that, what did they do? That's the context. Now I want to use contrast. What is different? So the people from this source, how do they contrast to people from this source? People that saw this page, how do they contrast from people who saw another page? I want to find those differences after I have set the segment, after I've set the context. I want to compare. This is why I'm going back to the average in a lot of those. On the bounce rate report, what was my average bounce rate? Okay, now what's higher than average? That's my contrast level. And then comparison. Okay, this page has a higher than average bounce rate. Why? Go look at the page. Don't just sit there and look at the numbers and think it's going to jump out. Go look at the page. And now you have a context with which to evaluate the page. Goals and KPIs. Based on what you are doing, this sets the funnel. Okay? So at the top of the funnel, when we're measuring awareness, yes, we're looking at impressions, views, cost per mil on our ad buys. We're measuring that maybe by recall or favorability. All right? So if you're top level, you're using top level metrics. If those are your top level goals, is awareness and visibility. Now, once we start getting into engagement, now I'm measuring clicks. Now I'm measuring likes. Because if all I am tasked with, if my goal is simply engagement, then that's the level that I can measure to. And these are KPIs if my goal is one level deeper. You see how that works? So if I am putting out an ad here, I think this is a LinkedIn ad, and what I can do is measure my cost per engagement on that ad. Now I'm doing my click-through rate. That's the purpose of the campaign, is driving people to a landing page. So I'm going to look at my click-through rate. If I have 2,000 clicks and my impressions are 100,000, that gives me a 2% click-through rate. The other metric is my cost per click. But that's not the full breadth of my campaign. Yeah, I'm getting clicks, but what are they clicking to? Landing page, yes, absolutely. So that, from my landing page, is where I get my conversion rate. What the CEO wants to know is, how much did we have to pay to get a new lead? And when you break that out across different channels, this channel has a cost per lead of this amount, this channel has a cost per lead of that amount, and now we can know where we are doing well and how to focus the campaign. This is the cool thing. When it comes around to KPIs, in utilizing KPIs is understanding the relationship of the KPI to the campaign. It's an indicator, but you got to know what it indicates. So it's understanding everything that goes into each one of these indicators. And that's what makes KPIs powerful. The problem is, we take KPIs, we look at them by themselves without realizing what they indicate and how it can be improved. Email marketing. I love email. It is killer. Killer. So this is an automated trigger campaign that a company is running. And all these emails are based on triggers. That when someone views a page, does if they buy something, the review email is triggered. But after 2 months of fine adjustments on messages, on delivery times, and things like that, overall value of everything rose 26 cents per email on every campaign. The primary ones are still running about 60 cents per email. Same thing in email. What are the two things people use to determine if they will open an email? Subject line and who it's coming from. Absolutely. If I have a low click rate on the email, if they've opened it, but they're not clicking on it. Content offer. Offer. Is my offer clear? Is it at the top of the email? Because I guarantee you no one's looking at the bottom of the email. Am I driving people? Am I identifying a problem? Am I giving them value? That's really what it comes down to. I have 3 seconds of your attention to communicate something of value. And if I don't do it, there's no click. I want you to take this and make it for your own company. What are you doing? Where are you driving? What KPIs are at each stage? And how are you measuring each of these things? This is the thing that needs to be on your wall. This is where your strategy is. Contextualization is powerful when you develop your campaigns, but also when you're troubleshooting or when you are evaluating what people are doing on your site. Contextualization typically involves these 3 areas.